The wins just keep coming for your Miami Dolphins, which are off to a 4-2 start, courtesy of Sunday's 31-28 overtime victory of the Chicago Bears. Another fourth quarter win for the Miami Dolphins. Only 3 teams in the NFL this year, Dave, have a better record than the Miami Dolphins. The Los Angeles Rams, Kansas City Chiefs, and the New Orleans Saints.
This is where I'm supposed to say, well, that makes them the 4th best team in the NFL. Look, everybody loves what they're doing, and impressed by it. And kudos to them. I'm not putting them up there in that plane just yet, though.
You're waiting for the floor to fall out from under you.
No, I'm just saying they were 4-2 last year,
They
right?
certainly were.
And there are scars.
And 4-2, and it was followed by a 5-game losing streak.
And the reality is they're winning a lot of close games, which good for them. Again, kudos to them. These games have a way of evening out. If not, now in 2016, they won all their close games in the final 10 games. So maybe they don't even out that year, but we'll see.
Well, you're watching X's and Omar. I am Omar Kelly. This is Dave Hyde, soon-to-be Hall of Famer, Broward County Hall of Famer Dave Hyde. And you're watching X's and Omar, which is brought to you by Gulfstream Park, an entertainment destination like no other. The Dolphins face a ton of adversity on Sunday, Dave, but managed to pull off the victory in these adverse situations. Backup quarterback Brock Osweiler starting for Ryan Tannehill and produces 451 yards.
541 yards.
For himself, yeah. For the team, 551 yards, season high. Dolphins offensive line battling some injuries, down 2 starters. They protect against the best pass rushing unit in the NFL. Stonewall Khalil Mack, 2 tackles the entire game. What was the difference?
Well, let's go. When you go into that game, as kickoff, I'm thinking this will be a victory for the ages if they win this one. All the combinations you just went. The difference, the offense ran like Adam Gase has wanted it to run since he got here. That's one of the few times you could say that. Now, I thought.
What was the difference, Dave?
I thought the difference was the quarterback to me. And now this one game, ball went where it's supposed to, when it was supposed to, made good decisions. 3rd and 1, they run a quarterback sneak. I mean, there are a lot of components to it. Okay, Albert Wilson, big game. You get the ball short, he runs long. That makes it a simple game for you when you have receivers like that. What about you, Omar?
I have a hard time saying that it was the quarterback, because then we're saying that Ryan Tannehill's holding this team back, which I disagree with. That Ryan Tannehill and Adam Gase have an 8-1 record together at home, playing inside Sun Life Stadium since 2016. That's pretty impressive. Now, to me, the biggest difference was the offensive line play. When you have an offensive line that can burrow open holes and get you 100 yards for Frank Gore, consistently keep you in 3rd and short situations that allow you to convert around 50% of your 3rd downs, and can protect the quarterback. Not to say that Brock Osweiler was making big throws, because really, there were 2 big throws from Brock Osweiler. A 3rd and 5 throw that was completed, actually 3 big throws. 3rd and 5 throw, the pass that bounced off a defensive back's hands, and
that was a little lucky.
That exactly, which is why I didn't ever count that as the big throw. And then the 2-point conversion to Kenny Stills. Those are 3 passes. You can say in each game, Ryan Tannehill at least gives you 3 passes.
But the ball went where it needed to. Not making difficult throws, it went where it needed to.
No,
and
the talent made the run after catch plays like they needed to.
But the ball went where it needed to, so they did run after the ball. Anyway, look, the offensive line had played well the first 2 games. It dominated the first 2 games, okay? And we didn't see that offense, okay? So,
that's fair. That's fair.
I don't know. Look, Brockweiler.
Yeah,
right?
Even you, yes.
Osweiler, right, okay. He's a backup quarterback. We know that. You ride that magic. You rode it this game. You'll probably need to ride it a little longer. And you hope you can ride that into shore. But what it showed to me was, okay, if Osweiler can do this, why can't Tannehill do this? And if you're not getting that, you need to go out and get a quarterback this offseason. I think that's where eventually at the end of the year we'll be pointing.
I think we'll be saying that quite a bit on this show this season, as I have been saying for 5 years. But let's get to our first question, which comes from NV305. Was the offensive line's play better versus the Bears, or was it because Brock doesn't hold on to the ball?
Well, Ryan Tannehill actually overall doesn't hold on to the ball. He has one of the quickest releases. Gen stats, the NFL has those Gen stats. He's the second up until this week, and I haven't looked at him this week. He didn't play, of getting rid of the ball. So it's not him holding the ball. To me, it's the feel of a quarterback, knowing when they're under pressure, knowing, Ryan, here we are, he's 30, and he still looks like an athlete sometimes playing quarterback.
Former wide receiver.
And so what's your take there, Omar?
I thought it was the offensive line. That was the best performance we've seen from Juwan James. That was a career game. That was a $50 million contract game. Every NFL team is going to put up that film of Juwan James blocking Khalil Mack one-on-one. And on that 3rd and 5, taking his hand and taking his throat and pushing Khalil Mack to the ground. It's going to make him a lot of money.
I know his agent's going to put up that. Okay, question 2. This is one's from A.G. Dre. Do we finally have a franchise left tackle in Laramie Tunsil?
That is a good question. And I would like to say that Laramie Tunsil has been playing like a franchise quarterback going to the beginning of the season. He's having a solid season. If he can cut down the penalties, and there's one every couple of games, I think Laramie Tunsil is clearly your most irreplaceable player. You don't lose him against the Cincinnati Bengals, you win that game. And the concussion has Sam Young out there. Sam Young's back. Welcome, Sam. It was a snowball of, that's the one irreplaceable player on the team. So if your player's irreplaceable, he must be a franchise player.
And they need, the good news going into that game, all the bizarre news, but they got him back.
Yes.
And out of concussion protocol, and that was big. All right, question 3. Can we now say Ryan Tannehill isn't the guy in Miami? Same O-line, same scheme, same coaches, different QB, and the results were eye-popping.
Woo! That's a lot to stomach right there. Here's the thing. I can't say that Ryan is the problem. What I can say is there are problems with this offense that's built for Ryan on 3rd downs. When Ryan has a play-action move offense, on 3rd downs, everybody knows you're going to pass, so everybody drops back or they blitz. And the issue is Ryan isn't finding the open receiver quick enough, throwing to him in stride, or Ryan can't handle that pressure on 3rd downs. He's been tremendously bad throughout his entire career on 3rd downs, and it has held back what he can be in his potential and the offense and the team. The question is, can Adam Gase fix that? And I see him doing things like changing Frank Gore, making him the primary runner, doing things like Nick O'Leary, getting that extra protection, a guy who can catch, he didn't give up on Mike Gesicki. He just said, you're not ready for what we need you to do. I need to move on. We'll continue to incubate you here. The changes that they've made schematically with Albert Wilson, calling 5-6 plays for him a game. It's little screen passes, but hell, they seem to be working. He leads the NFL in yards after catch. It's the alterations that he's made that makes me more confident. Do I think that Ryan Tannehill is ever going to be a quarterback that leads the Miami Dolphins to a Super Bowl victory? Hell no. But I think that he is a kind of quarterback that could lead this team to the playoffs 3 of 5 years. The question is, do you give up on that?
And the question is that your goal? Is that what you're shooting for?
Let's be real about it, Dave. That's their goal.
Shouldn't be their goal.
It shouldn't be their goal. It shouldn't, but it is.
Okay, Omar. Duke Dennis asks, should this performance by Brock Osweiler convince the coaches to shrink the QB room and use the extra roster spot where there's more of a need?
That is a question that gets to the heart of David Fales. And I'm a David Fales fan. I thought he outperformed Brock Osweiler. Do I think that he can go into the game and do what Brock Osweiler did last week? No, because Brock has experience. He's playing like he has experience. He has a mastery of this offense that's on par with Ryan Tannehill because he sat under it so long behind Peyton Manning. But Adam Gase isn't comfortable with just 2 quarterbacks. And as
He was last year, though. And
No, he wasn't last year till he re-signed David Fales and kept him for the rest of the season. Luke Falk is already on IR with the wrist injury. You need 3 quarterbacks. Hell, we don't know if Ryan Tannehill is going to be throwing anytime soon. So you need those 3 quarterbacks for practice.
Well, I'd agree with you. I'm just curious, where do they go with this? Okay, where is in the end game? They're developing 2 28-year-olds now. Is that just for this year, or is this for the future?
Worry about next season, Dave Hyde. You're watching X's and Omar. I am Omar Kelly. This is Dave Hyde, and the show is brought to you by Gulfstream Park, an entertainment destination like no other. It's time to do what has become the staple of this show in the first month of the season. Let's go over all the injuries, Dave.
I love these staples. Yeah, let's do it. Oh, this is going to take an hour.
This is going to be a long segment. Ryan Tannehill is battling a shoulder injury. The Dolphins will tell you what it's not. It's not a labrum tear. It's not an ACL joint injury. But they won't tell you what it is.
Adam Gase got a little worked up after the game about those questions.
Gets worked up all the time.
Emotional. He should just said we're not going to go there because no team goes there.
But then the next day he gives you
because he realized maybe I overshot it a little.
I mean, but here's the thing: people who know Adam Gase know he's a spark plug.
Like any NFL coach after a game, especially.
Yeah, I think he wanted to talk about the victory and how triumphant we've been and to overcome adversity. I'd give you a blow-by-blow what happened to Ryan.
Well, we did talk about the victory, but he is the quarterback. He is the franchise quarterback. So, anyways, update.
He is probably going to have to be sidelined. The arm needs rest. I see Brock Osweiler being the starter not only for the Detroit Lions game, but for Thursday night's game against Houston. Very short turnaround. That gives Ryan 2 weeks to completely rest his arm going into that Green Bay game, which leads you to a bye. You see where he is in that Green Bay game, and then he's got a bye week to rest the arm, and then you see if you finish out the season. If he has problems in that Green Bay game, you got to be concerned.
Well, if he has problems the week with the shoulder going into in practice, right? Because it was interesting listening to somebody who's had that injury, like one of the ESPN hosts. It was Trent Dilfer or Matt Hasselbeck, and they talked about how the only way to get away from that is shoot it up with Novocaine on game day. You can't do anything during the week. That's the only thing you can do, and he said 2-3 weeks, which sounds like what's coming out of Dolphin camp.
Cameron Wake, another star player, 5-time Pro Bowler, has been sidelined for the past 2 weeks. Had his knee scoped, which totally isn't surprising considering he's a 35-year-old man. I know you're going to bring up age, as you always bring up age.
You brought it up for me, Omar.
What do you think about the prognosis of Cam?
Well, the question is when with him, right? And the bottom line, you look at how they got through that Chicago game, and they want their defensive ends playing half the snaps. Robert Quinn, half the snaps. Robert Quinn played 70%. Andre Branch, just off the injury report, plays 70% of the snaps. And so they need
bodies.
This was a position they went in with great depth.
Oh man, it was the deepest position on the team.
I was joking that what was this, a pitching staff? How many defensive ends they got?
They're had 5.
They're down to 3. Where they need bodies now.
Yeah, Jonathan Woodard's in concussion protocol. Charles Harris has got a calf injury that he suffered the Friday before practice. Nobody knows. Calf injury and a speed rusher, that's a bad mix, especially one that struggles against stopping the run. It's going to be interesting to see what they do, but it looks like if they don't get Cam Wake back, they might have to go into this game against the Detroit Lions with 3 pass rushers playing the rest of the game.
Yeah, that will be interesting. I think they're going to have to bring somebody up, right? I mean, they can't just go in with 3 when.
How many more can you bring up? You just brought up three defensive linemen.
They need Cam Wake back. Is the bottom line.
They need Cam Wake back, or they need Jonathan Woodard to get out of concussion protocol. Devante Parker's returning to the field. Devante. As the world or injuries turn with Devante, he played 4 snaps against the Chicago Bears. Too many animals, too many lions, tigers, bears. Jesus.
We got it right in a row here.
Yeah. And with me, Devante is an important element of this offense because he is the receiver who's supposed to be able to get off press coverage. He's a receiver who's supposed to be running a hard slant. He's a receiver who's supposed to be running a 15-yard comeback. He is a receiver who's supposed to be using his big body to create openings in the field, and nobody's doing that.
And he's not doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in 4 plays, and there was 1 interception because he doesn't even make a play on the ball. Those are things that drive you nuts.
Gear down. Right now, he's playing at about 70%. He can't gear down. But you're right. You're right. You are right, Dave. He's always playing at 70% because he's always hurt.
And so, what do you? That's the real problem. And you saw why he isn't in there more, right? But I agree with you, Omar. They need him. They need him. He's different.
It's
what he
Devante
provides,
Parker or Jakeem Grant. Like, who do you want getting off press?
and they have Albert Wilson. They have Jakeem Grant. They have
yes. Everybody serves their role. Devante's role is what this offense is missing, and who knows when he's going to be coming back.
if he's coming back.
Our next question comes from Patrick Mason. Kiko Alonso has been a monster this year. Is his success all about keeping him out of pass coverages and playing to his strengths, or is he doing something different?
Well, I thought it was interesting in the offseason what Adam Gase said about Kiko's last year, which by all accounts was disappointing. But he said he had too much on his plate, in part because of injuries, in part because he was helping out new guys in the defense. And so they got him back to doing his game. Okay, now pass coverage was a problem last year. He's in the nickel defense this year. It's not a problem. It hasn't been. He's been beat a couple times. That happens.
I always felt like his pass coverage was one of the best things that he does. But right now, I think Adam Gase puts it perfectly. If you keep things simple for Kiko, and he's still the brains of the operations, Raekwon McMillan will tell you, Kiko's still the one that's calling the shots. But all of the weight isn't on his shoulders. If you keep things simple for Kiko, he plays better. I call it the Kiko way is see ball, get ball. And that's really, but he's playing a lot smarter than he has in the past. There was one play against the Bears where Mitch Trubisky is rolling out. There's a running back who's leaking out into a wheel route. Kiko's on the running back. It's a 3rd down. Kiko sees the sticks, and he's like, I got to drop this running back to prevent Trubisky from crossing the 3rd down marker and continuing this drive. And Trubisky has to slide because Kiko's there. That isn't a tackle, but it was a tremendous play.
One thing they have with their linebacking core tweaked it a little. McMillan wasn't in on nickels last week against the Bears for the first time this year, and Jerome Baker was in. And so all of a sudden, Kiko isn't asked to be the speed linebacker out there as he was with McMillan. So it's little tweaks to this as the season goes on.
And they've been successful. Bryce wants to know, why can't Xavier Howard keep shadowing when receivers move to the slot? Is it a him or is it the other DBs?
Well, I think his strength, where they want him, is on the boundaries, right? And part of it is the other DBs. I'm curious, how much do they put on the plate of Minkah Fitzpatrick? He's a slot receiver now. Do they make him a boundary receiver when the other guys they watched last week, Torrey McTyer, is struggling?
Got roasted.
And so do they keep,
barbecue?
What do they do there? That to me is a bigger question than Xavier Howard is playing at a high level this year. Wherever
he's playing at a Pro Bowl level. He's been sensational. Now what teams are doing is they're saying, hey, this guy's shadowing our best receiver, completely eliminating him from the game. Let's put our best receiver in the slot. And A.J. Green was the first to do that. And now you're going to see a lot of teams do that to escape Xavier Howard, which who would have thought we'd ever have to say. Can you put him in the nickel? Yeah, but then you're asking Minkah to play on the boundary, which is not something that he's practiced. As Matt Burke says, we already got a lot on his plate.
That's right. He's doing very well at it. Do you
keep putting more on his plate? I think it's a dangerous move. What you need is Bobby McCain to come back. Bobby McCain can play in the nickel. Bobby McCain can play everywhere. Then you get Xavier Howard. He can play everywhere. So maybe Bobby McCain shadows. It's a fluid situation, but you need somebody to play better than Torrey McTyer.
And the hope is McCain's back this week because Matt Stafford is coming in, and he runs hot and cold. You run into a hot Matt Stafford, he'll put up points. Okay, Omar, our next question comes from Alex. How did Cordrea Tankersley do when he came into the game? Should he be playing more? Is there more to this issue than we don't know?
Cordrea Tankersley was aight. It was aight. Nothing special. It was okay. But it was better than Torrey McTyer, who got barbecued.
Constantly.
They 2 deep passes, 1 touchdown, 2 pass interference call. Like, come on, man.
Mitch Trubisky came to the line and said, where is he? Where is he?
They did it. And I like the story of Torrey McTyer, an undrafted player, second year, gets elevated because of injury. The problem is, you got to play well when you're elevated.
Well, you're overexposing him probably
Absolutely.
to his talent. It isn't that he's not an NFL player. He's just probably not that
You're
yet.
asking him to do too much. And Cordrea Tankersley, who started 10 or 11 games last year, was pretty solid. That's one of the biggest mysteries about this team.
Right.
What the hell happened to Cordrea Tankersley?
Disappointing. He started the first game in London against Drew Brees, and Brees went right at him, and he hit on him so well that game, and you thought, okay, maybe they got some. And they did last year, and he came back this year, and right in training camp.
I think it's a matter of confidence. When players lose confidence, it's hard for everybody can't bounce back, and everybody can't have the mindset to wipe it away and start fresh. Right now, he's giving receivers too much. He's a press cornerback who's playing off press coverage. Like, that's a recipe for disaster. That's what got Byron Maxwell cut. If you don't trust your ability to recover, so you're always off, that gives him free release. That's a disaster when you don't have that speed to recover. So hopefully he gets his confidence back and starts to play better. That's one of the things that it's one of the biggest mysteries of the season, and I'm going to get an answer.
Get the bottom of that one. Okay, CS Fins has a good one. Is the emergence of all the young, non-first or second-round players like Vincent Taylor, Devon Godchaux, Jerome Baker, Jakeem Grant, and Kenyon Drake a sign of hope that Gaze's culture is finally working and there's hope for the future?
I don't think it has anything to do with culture. Not a single thing.
Not a little?
Not a single thing. Not a drop. I think it has to do with the talent selection. And I give Chris Greer props because, hey, Vincent Taylor, Devon Godchaux, 2 great late finds. They have been phenomenal early this season. Jerome Baker. I wasn't a fan of Jerome Baker watching this film. I thought he was light in the tail. I thought he wasn't going to be able to hold up on blocks. But his speed is making a difference in this defense. Raekwon McMillan, he's been playing better. You know, he's a rookie. You can say whatever you want about this not being his first year, but this is his first year on the field. He struggled the first 2 games. He's been playing better the last 2 weeks, and taking him out of the nickel package probably is what's best for him. Minkah Fitzpatrick, woo, that's a baller right there. There are young players that are trending upwards, and when young players start to gain confidence, like Vincent Taylor, do you think Vincent Taylor's not confident right now?
He's not only confident. When he chased Marshawn, Oakland game, he went sideline to sideline and chased Marshawn Lynch right off the field. Now, I know Marshawn Lynch isn't a speedster, but Vincent Taylor's a defensive tackle chasing a running back, matching him foot speed. I was like, wow, okay, they got something.
He can play. I have been I'm not going to say that, I was screaming, playing a trumpet for Vincent Taylor, but I watched them practice last year, and I was like, there's really no difference between Godchaux and Taylor. Like, why is Taylor not playing more? And now he's showing you that he definitely belongs. So
yeah, the question isn't to get back to these questions to the low draft picks. They're outplaying some of the high draft picks. Like Jordan Phillips, the 2 lower round defensive tackles. Jordan Phillips off the team now. You know, we've talked about Devante Parker and Laramie Tunsil now coming into his own. It looks like, and so
I think, as again, young players, they get more experience. Xavier Howard, perfect example. Xavier Howard, he had to redo his rookie year, his second season, start to really get some legs under him. Now, he's seen it all. He's done it all. He's just letting his ability shine. He's going and saying, hey, I got the confidence to get A.J. Green. Give him here. That doesn't happen to a young player. You think Cordrea Tankersley is asking for A.J. Green?
Well, let's give him maybe next year.
You know what's interesting? Xavier Howard did struggle early last season.
He did.
And he certainly recovered. And that's Gase's program. And I give him props because I have been the Jakeem Grant. I said Jakeem's rookie year. He don't belong in the NFL. Too small, gimmick player, can't block, can't catch, couldn't return punts. And to my defense, he couldn't catch. He gained some hands, developed some skills. They began to trust him. And man, And he picked up the offense better than Leonte Carew. They took him out of the slot position, put him out on the boundary, and he's blossomed.
What you see in the common link to these is speed. And the modern NFL, there's not the headhunting that was allowed in previous decades.
All these guys who are being productive right now, the Deshaun Jacksons of the world, the Tyreek Hills, speed.
Speed. Size doesn't matter as much
anymore.
And so you need, on the other side, speed and versatility. You need the Minka Fitzpatrick who can play a few different places. You need a Jerome Baker who can run. And so, it's interesting the young talent fitting into this new game.
It's amazing to see the evolution of this team. Scrappy fighters, young team. The core of this team, outside of your 30-year-olds, who I know you're
They're disappearing.
but the core of this team, they're blossoming. They're getting better. You're seeing more production from Kenyon Drake in his role. You're seeing Davin Godchow. You're seeing Vincent Taylor. You're seeing Jerome Baker. You're seeing Raekwon McMillan. You're seeing I said Jerome Baker already. I guess I'm out of young players. The right guard. You're seeing a lot of them develop and come into their own, and it's encouraging. It gives you hope. Now, hope for what? I don't know.
Well, this year, right?
Yeah. You're watching X's and Omar. I am Omar Kelly. This is Dave Hyde. Dave Hyde, who happens to be going into the Hall of Fame this next week, Broward County Hall of Fame. And Dave Hyde, who I will tell you is perfect right now. He is the king of predictions. He is 6-0 predicting Dolphins games this week.
I was thinking about that coming in. Thank you for admiring.
I had to crown you, Dave.
Although I definitely would have changed my pick right before kickoff when I saw Brock Osweiler was starting. Fact,
I would have too.
A friend of mine that works at one of these odds places, he said that all of them got crushed because there was such a rush to bet on the Bears right before kickoff.
I bet you a lot of people lost a lot of money on that game.
A lot of money was lost.
I have a friend who actually made a ridiculous amount of money by not pulling his bet. He was going to pay a ridiculous amount of money to pull the bet. And he said, you know what, let it ride, and made a killing off it. So it pays maybe to bet on the Dolphins.
Faith.
Yeah. X and Omar brought to you by Gulfstream Park. Dolphins are 4-2 heading into Sunday's game at home. Well, actually, no. Dolphins are 3-0 at home. So the question is, how good do you think this team can be continuing to play at home?
Well, at home they're a very good team, but most
13-5 during the Adam Gase reign.
Most NFL teams are much better at home, in part because lines traditionally the line about bad lines don't travel, and you could see with the Dolphins, how do they get beat on the road? Their lines got destroyed by New England and Cincinnati. Bad lines are much better at home, and traditionally that means, now I'll throw in one other factor, and I'm on the prowl about this, that not only the noise in Hard Rock Stadium when they put in that canopy, but you watch, whether you watch it on TV or live, that sun doesn't hit it's constantly on the other team's sideline, and about right at 4 o'clock, the shade reaches them, where the Dolphins are in the shade. The sun does make a difference. Are
you saying Dolphins opponents are melting, Dave?
I'm saying there's a
We've
there's
also
a
heard that
the
canopy creates a microwave-ish feel to it. I don't sit out there. I sit in my comfortable AC. So I have gone to Hurricane games, but mostly at night. I wouldn't dare sit out there at 1 o'clock for a game.
I'm not that tough.
Yeah, but I really think it's the confidence level, the comfort of home that's helped them. Execution is good, but I will tell you that there was one third down play, I think it was the one that the ball bounced into Kenny Stills' hand, where the crowd, it felt like the Dolphins were on a road game.
It is South Florida. There were a lot of Chicago fans.
There were a lot. Now, in fairness to the Dolphins travel well too. You could go anywhere, Arizona, Seattle. There's going to be a nice large contingent of Dolphin fans.
Buffalo?
Yeah, Buffalo. Nobody wants to go to Buffalo. But I think it's a huge factor that they have the heat and temperature, advantage. Teams are melting in the fourth quarter. They just are.
Yeah.
And it helps the Dolphins be more efficient.
All right, Omar. Luke Fader wants to know which unit faces the biggest challenge against the Lions as we move ahead to this Sunday.
I think it's going to be Miami's offensive line. I think that their defensive line, even though they're missing Ezekiel Alonso, is creating enough pressure to create havocs. They're blitzing just to alleviate some of that pressure that they're facing. Right now, they're, I think, the 7th best team in the NFL in terms of third down defense. Opponents are converting 34% of their third down opportunities. That's because of a lot of pressure that they're applying on quarterbacks. You are going to face a very aggressive team, not talent-wise, but in terms of the play calls, and that might create some problems for tight ends and for Miami's offensive line.
Yeah, I'll go with the defensive backfield because you got Matt Stafford.
He makes aggressive throws.
He's hot and cold, and he makes mistakes, or he'll throw you out of a day. And so, especially with the defensive end position unsettled here. Now, you saw Matt Burke at times dial up blitzes when he was low on defensive ends. Maybe they have to do that, but I'll say Matt Stafford's going to put pressure on the defense.
Our next question comes from J.J. Harkin, who asked, the Lions are coming off a bye week. What scares you the most about Detroit team coming to Miami? And you just mentioned
I just said it, Matt Stafford. Because you look, Trubisky for Chicago, young quarterback. He doesn't scare me, and you saw why at the open. They had a chance at the start of the game to really take hold.
They missed so many plays offensively. I mean, wide open receivers that the ball's just a little bit off. But what I like about Matt Stafford, and it's a gift and a curse, he makes aggressive throws.
Yes.
I talk a lot about Ryan Tannehill, who doesn't make big boy throws. Well, Matt Stafford, all he believes in is big boy throws. That gets him into a lot of trouble. But outside of the Jets game where he threw 4 interceptions, he's only thrown 1 the rest of the season so far. And he's completing a high percentage of his passes. Every game since that Jets game has been an over 100 quarterback rating. So do not sleep on Matt Stafford, because right now he's hot.
But this defense that causes turnovers this year, 14 I believe right now, and 15 all last year, he's going to have a chance. Going to have a chance at interceptions. All right, Omar. Neil asks, will Lions head coach Matt Patricia's knowledge of the AFC East cause Miami the same type of frustration and problem he caused for New England?
No. I think New England was about him being intimately familiar. That was like his woman. So he knew all the right buttons to push. Dave's like, what buttons are we talking about? He knew just how to
Matt Patricia with the beard and the pencil and the weird hat. You're talking about a woman.
Yeah, man. Matt Patricia made love to the New England Patriots. I don't think he will know the Dolphins just as intimately as Adam Gase will know his defense, because he's played him so much in New England. Matt Patricia doesn't scare me, but he's got a lot of Bill Belichick in him. So maybe he's identified a weakness like Torrey McTyer, and he will try to exploit Torrey McTyer and maybe run it at the edges of Miami's defense because they don't have any defensive ends. But these are things that Adam Gase should be able to predict. If I'm able to predict it, you should be able to predict it and come up with a counter. I think that's one of the things that's underrated about Adam Gase. The game plan and the strategy, I've never had to question it, because he knew what his shortcomings were. He knew what his team's deficiencies were. Outside of asking Mike Gesicki to block like a big boy too many times, I think he's playing to his team's strengths, and you're seeing them evolve into a team where they're putting their best foot forward on every given play. I couldn't say that with Joe Philbin.
Matt Patricia, fun fact, took a job at St. Thomas Aquinas way back, turned it down. He ended up with the Patriots. So it's
what was he going to do at St. Thomas Aquinas?
Him and his wife were going to move here. He's going to be an assistant coach at St. Thomas Aquinas.
Oh, high school?
High school.
High school?
This was before, when he was working at small. Now I think there's an intermediate job in between there, but that led him to go into the Patriots. You never know. You never know.
You never know.
So who you got this week, Omar?
We actually got one more question.
Okay.
From AO35. Will Amari Cooper potentially on the trading block and the Dolphins needing a receiver with size, because the whole Devante Parker issue, would you make that deal? I believe the going rate is a first-round pick.
No. Yeah, I don't. I don't trade a first-round pick for a guy about to need to be paid.
Yep.
And evidently there are questions, whispers about his, quote, love for the game. So,
He's a Miami kid from Northwestern.
I
He loves the game.
I love Amari. I've watched him play. I'm just saying it's not the right time.
Maybe he don't want to play for John Gruden, as just about everybody
I'm
does.
just going to say, I'm finding John Gruden doesn't like anybody on his roster.
Or maybe they don't like him.
Or maybe they don't like him.
Maybe they don't like. Here's the thing about John Gruden, which is very interesting that people brought up. Today's coaches have to take a new school approach because these are a different generation of players. This is the YouTube 5-star rating. Everybody needs to tell me how great I am. I get my ladies off Instagram generation of players where everything is handed to them. They need to be congratulated and patted on the back. John Gruden ain't about that life. John Gruden's a little bit old school.
I don't know many in the NFL are about that life, are they?
Oh, yeah. There are coaches that I think more player-friendly.
Well, more, yes. Well, I'll even go with Pete Carroll. To me, there's the Pete Carroll way or the Bill Belichick way. Okay, you can get up the mountain either way because they both have, but they're two distinct camps of, and you're saying you have to be more Pete Carroll, player-friendly,
you got to be more Pete Carroll
back-patting.
in today's age. You got to coddle these players and baby them. And
Where would you say Adam Gase is on that line?
oh, he's a coddler.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without a
Absolutely.
doubt, he doesn't even pretend he's not a coddler.
He'll go over and trash talk the
yeah.
defensive backs before practice about we're coming at you. And
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons that I think that they've been so successful. And I've had private conversations with Adam Gase, which I'm now sharing on X's Omar. His mindset is always positive. My mindset is always negative. In terms of, I'm preparing for the worst. And if I get better than the worst, look, I got better than the worst. Adam Gase is preparing for the best.
I think that's
Everything is going to go right.
Coaches in 90% of the coaches I met are like that. They look through the negative and see the positive. And that's what I appreciate about that field. Now, there are exceptions. Stan Van Gundy, very, very, I love Stan, but he saw the negatives. And that was his way. And I think Gruden, to your point, is probably one of those. He sees the negatives.
And that mentality, I think players specifically went into that locker room after the Bears game. I keep forgetting who they played. Lions,
You're
Tigers,
moving on.
and Bears.
That's good, Omar.
Juwan James said it. And I think he was kind of hinting at what had been some of the problems. Like, these guys don't get down on us. They stay positive. Like, Juwan James is a penalty machine to the point where if he commits a penalty, they make him go run a lap. And he doesn't feel like they're being negative. And at times, I've been to a lot of coaches who are real negative. And I've covered a lot of coaches who are real negative. And they find that refreshing. Now, will it result in a better record? We'll see, because the last time the Dolphins were 4-2, they had a 5-game skid.
All right, Omar, let's go. Who you got?
Prediction. I go first.
Got the crown.
Put the crown on. Put the crown on. I am going to predict a Dolphins victory. I'm going to go 21-17 Dolphins victory. I think the offensive line is finding a groove. Travis Swanson is playing well. He got beat up by Geno Atkins, but since then he's recovered. Everybody gets beat up by Geno.
A lot of people do, right?
Yeah. And Ted Larson is getting his footing under him. They are, with Frank Gore, they've got this play. In my mind, you need staple plays. Things that you run 5-6 times a game, the defense knows it's coming, and you can't stop it. And they've got this sweep to where they pull the tackles and the guard. They pull Juwan James and the right guard, I can't remember his name.
Jesse Davis.
Jesse Davis. I love Jesse Davis. I can't remember his name. They pull him to the left, and it creates an alleyway. Tunsil and Larson clear it out. The guards come in, get to the second level, and Frank's got 4 or 5 yards. And it's working, and teams aren't stopping it. And then if teams are playing it too much, you come with the naked bootleg on the opposite side, and you beat them that way. there's a lot to this play. And I think it's going to continue to help this offense improve. So 21-17 Dolphins.
I can't bring that detail to my prediction that you just brought on one play.
I mean, but you are 6-0, Dave. You are 6-0.
You know what? I'm going with the Dolphins too. The legend of Brock continues.
In Brocktober?
The legend of Osweiler. What debate?
Everybody's playing with his name.
Yeah,
It's Brocktober.
But I tell you what, in all seriousness, for a really bizarre career that he's had. You know, he was starter, hugely paid, trade, dumped, and sort of a cast-off here where we're like, what's he doing here?
Yeah, like nobody wants him. Even Adam Gase was like, I don't know if I want him. I think he might need to go somewhere else.
Even through preseason, it was like, well, who's the backup? Who's the backup?
Yeah.
You know? So you have to be happy for a guy who's stuck with it like that. Okay.
Here's my indicator that he had no idea who was starting the game, how he was dressed. Black T-shirt, black shorts.
That's true.
Usually no quarterback is wearing a black T-shirt or black shorts.
Well, we'll see. We'll see this week. We'll see this
we will
week
see
what
this
he wears.
week, yeah.
Because Adam Gase, head coach, comes in a sloppy T-shirt and jeans everywhere, right?
Maybe don't forget his flip-flops.
My theory in business: dress like your boss. Maybe he's dressing like his boss. Maybe Osweiler's dressing like Gase.
Osweiler's been through the ringer before. He doesn't care what he looks like.
All right,
anymore.
so I'm saying 27-20 Dolphins.
Think about this. Name a quarterback who's been through it worse than Brock Osweiler the last 2 years.
Ryan Tannehill.
On that note, X's and Omar brought to you by Gulfstream Park. Always enjoy having questions from you guys. Enjoy the season. I wrote a column in Sentinel. You're 4-2. Only 3 teams are better than you. Enjoy the ride. Stop waiting for the anvil to fall on your head.
I'm wondering who this Omar is.
It's a new me. I got Hall of Fame aspirations nowadays. Thank you for watching.